Hi, it's Tim, and welcome back to the Aussie Expat Podcast, the podcast where we interview real Aussies about real expat experiences around the world. Today, I am very lucky because I'm in one of my favorite cities, Hong Kong. You know, I like to say in your expat journey, you meet a lot of weird and wonderful people. And I'm very lucky that I have someone wonderful with me today.
I thought I might fall under the weird category.
Depends on the day, Matt.
Yeah.
So very pleased to welcome Matt to the pod.
Thank you.
For those, maybe a little bit of context. So Matt works with me with one of our business partners up in Hong Kong. So that's how we got to know each other. But it's been a very interesting journey for you the last few months. And I thought it'd be a really interesting topic to kind of delve into on the pod. Obviously,
for sure.
Yeah. We'll leave it for a little bit of a surprise for further along.
Yeah.
Maybe be good to just get some background from you first, how you kind of ended up in Hong Kong.
For sure.
Yeah.
So I guess typical expat kind of story. My other half got a random job offer in Hong Kong.
Yes.
From a drunken night out on the way home. He just did a stopover in Hong Kong, and then got a job.
Yeah.
And it wasn't kind of planned. It wasn't in our kind of cards to leave Australia or do the kind of expat journey.
Yeah.
But there wasn't really any good reason for us not to do it.
Yeah.
So I think with a little bit of encouragement, we just did it.
Yeah.
How
long has it been now?
it's just hitting 7 years.
Yeah.
So 7 years in Hong Kong is PR territory, which
Milestone that everyone aims.
big milestone.
Yeah.
Well, technically, I think I said to you before, most people will have the 2-year thing. They'll do it for 2 years and then they'll go back.
Yeah,
But as with most things, you get settled, you make a group of friends. COVID.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the test. I think anyone that kind of survived COVID, especially in Hong Kong as well, right?
Hong Kong definitely was tough during COVID, but here we are with no plans to leave.
Yep.
So it was Dan's job that afforded us to come here. I was working for an insurance company in marketing back in Australia, so I stayed behind for an additional 9 months to just see a few projects out.
Yeah.
And also my parents were expats in Saudi Arabia.
Okay.
When my brothers were young, and they came back to Australia when I was born. And they said to me, the worst thing you can do is both leave your jobs and put that pressure on the one income.
Yeah.
Because if Dan goes and he hates it, then you're both stuffed.
Yeah.
So I think that was really good advice, and the kind of thing I'd probably tell other people, but not everyone can make that long distance work.
Yeah. I mean, so much of it is circumstances as well, right? But if you have that, if you're able to do that much forward planning, and especially if he's just kind of got a job off the street, not off the street, but obviously.
At least it wasn't on the
Sounds like-
street, Tim. So that brought us up. Dan was working, well, the job that brought him up here was technology consulting.
Yep.
And he was working exclusively for Commonwealth Bank. And pretty much at the same time as moving up here, the Royal Commission happened in Australia. So within the first week or two of coming, they announced that they were pulling out of Asia, and basically the job that he moved up for ended up not being the job that he'd planned. He managed to stay working for them for maybe 2 years, but that was to close down their office in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
So very different to what he signed up for. And then for me, I had never not worked before. So I was like, this is amazing. Hong Kong costs a lot of money, but it also pays very well within the right roles.
Yeah.
So the move up here afforded me to not have to work for a little while.
Yeah.
So I was just traveling and going on any trip that friends were going on, work trip. I was staying in their accommodation, spending their work allowance, the food and drinks and whatever. And it was amazing. And then COVID hit.
Yeah.
So I was a lot longer out of a job than I'd originally planned. It is what it is. And
It kind of works out. I mean, it's funny. It's because it was a very similar story for me when I first moved to Singapore, because I was also the trailing spouse. And sometimes you, especially if you're in, like a same-sex relationship, it's a very you have to be able to stand on your own 2 feet together almost, right? Like there's
Yeah.
not a lot of visas or kind of sponsorship that places up here can give to us.
Totally.
So same for me, like my first year, I really wasn't working
Yeah.
that much, which at the time I'd never not worked either. I'd never had that much time available in my life, which kind of, it was good. It gave me a little bit of time to breathe. But when you actually get back to it and when you kind of, the opportunity comes along, it's, I don't know, you kind of have a different mentality about it as well. Yeah.
I think as well, it afforded me time to get into a job that I actually wanted to do rather than feel the pressure to just take the first job available. In saying that, the job market really did dry up.
Yes.
So, it wasn't easy. But yeah, it's nice to have options.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at you now. It's
Yeah. So
it's all worked out.
that's right. So fast forward 7 years ahead.
Yeah.
Dan's, moved jobs maybe 3 times. He's working for a big consulting firm now.
Yeah.
And I work with Oriana Private Wealth, which I don't think was necessarily mentioned. And
No.
yeah. You know them well.
Yes. Yeah. I guess, maybe just some initial Hong Kong impressions. So the biggest change for you when you first came from Australia to Hong Kong, what was kind of the biggest adjustment or biggest mindset switch that you had?
Yeah. So moving to Hong Kong felt like living on campus at an American college. Like it was, it's such a small place with 7 million people. It was all your friends lived within 500 meters of you. You don't need a car. Transport's great. The food's amazing. The nightlife is awesome. And when you're not working, the hangovers were probably the only downfall of first moving here. But I think bring it back to the fact we never planned to be expats. It was never really where our career paths led us. It was kind of like a second life or a second beginning. We were kind of in the monotony of living in Sydney and just, I guess we kind of had our life kind of mapped out. It was kind of like it would be this. We had the house, we had a dog, we'd work towards another house and that sort of thing. But there wasn't much, I don't want to say it wasn't exciting. We had and have a great life in Sydney and we love it and we were close to family, but it just reminded us that life is for living. And coming here, also the proximity to travel to Asia, to jump on a cheap flight and travel anywhere. You can be anywhere in Asia within a couple of hours flight. We'd not done that before. In Australia, it was like you plan for months for your 1 holiday or your 2 holidays a year. So first impressions were just, why didn't we do this sooner, I suppose.
Yeah. And it is the thing that I think it's the biggest thing for me as well is people always ask, when are you going home? But that proximity to just be able to get on a plane, be in the middle of everything is, I don't know. You just don't get that back home.
No. Yeah. And I guess the question, once you've been away for quite an amount of time, is where is home?
Yeah.
When we go back to Australia, sometimes like if we think about trying to slot ourselves back in our old life, we feel like that's kind of moved on from us. We're a bit different. We love going back and experiencing it and seeing all our friends and our family. But I think our question of where is home has changed a lot now.
I think especially after 7 years, it'll be 10 years for me. Wow. Home ends up becoming the people that you have around you, right?
Yeah.
And people make or break your experience in most cities. From what I see, a lot of people that go home after 2 years, it's normally they haven't quite just found their people or been able to integrate in the right way, or they're just not feeling it. They really, their home is still.
Yeah. I don't know if Singapore's the same, but in Hong Kong, which is very different to Australia or my experience of Australia, it's very much the more the merrier philosophy. I guess you're surrounded by a lot of expats and they all know what it's like to be new. They're all very aware and they're very inclusive. So in Australia, if someone new came, I'd be like, you'd be a bit like, no, we just want to hang out with the people we know. We don't want to make that effort, depending on the mood. Whereas here, you're new and everyone's like, come to this, come to that. And you find your group or your people quite quickly. People are very accommodating. And I think in return, you try to do that for other newcomers.
100%.
Yeah.
We live in a shared experience, right?
Yeah.
You can talk to anyone,
Yeah.
whether they've been here 10 years or, 2 seconds. There's always going to be some commonality of experience that you can always relate to.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I'm very keen to get into, I guess, what's the real story for you, because it's been a really exciting time for you in the last 2 months.
Yeah.
Big life change. So just you and Dan have had a baby.
We have. We didn't carry it, although we have put on a bit of weight, and we say, it's fine. We've just had a baby. We're allowed to put on a bit of weight. But no, we did. We probably something we never would have done in Australia. It's something that we would have liked to have done, I suppose, but it just never would have happened. I know it never would have happened. And Hong Kong again afforded us the opportunity to be able to do it. And I think, something that happened, Dan's mum passed away, and that was a really traumatic time in our lives. We'd gone to friends from Hong Kong's wedding in Positano, and we'd left the Hong Kong bubble just coming out of COVID. Hong Kong still had very strict laws where you had to do a PCR test before coming back into the country, and that had to test negative. If it tested positive, you couldn't come back in.
Yeah.
And of course, first time out, in Europe, I tested positive and couldn't get back to back to Hong Kong, sorry. And back then you didn't know how long it would take for that to get out of your bloodstream. So I went back to Australia just to work from there for a couple of weeks. And that, a couple of weeks in Australia, Dan's mum passed away while I was there. And we ended up being there for about 6 months. The reason I bring that up was not just for a sympathy vote. It was probably the main reason that pushed us to see life is short.
Yeah.
And if you want something, go for it. And we went full steam ahead after that. It, especially for Dan as well, he was super close to his mum.
Yeah.
Not only was it exciting, it gave him something to live for and to look forward to. And that's how it all came about. So, I mean, it was a long process. It took a lot longer than we probably anticipated. We're very, we're not people that research things till the nth degree. We were like, that seems good, let's do that. We explored a couple of options. We looked at adoption. We looked at altruistic surrogacy in Australia and Canada. We looked at surrogacy in Mexico or in Colombia, but we just felt the most comfortable going down the path in America.
Okay.
Altruistic surrogacy is amazing. The fact that these ladies will put their bodies on the line for people they barely know. A lot of them know people, but a lot of them do it just to give someone the gift of a child.
Yeah, okay.
Is amazing, but you can be on it. You can be trying to get a match for 10 years and still not have one.
Yeah.
Same as adoption. And we just felt like we don't want to be super old when we get kids, and we don't want to have that open-ended, when's it going to happen? So that's kind of what happened.
Yeah. And there's a lot to unpack in that.
Yeah.
Like definitely anytime you lose a parent, it's a very traumatic thing. It's also a very clarifying thing in life, right? It was exactly the same for me.
Yeah.
When my mum passed away, it changed everything about how I see the world.
Yeah.
And really it changes what you value as well. So I guess, that was what, like 3-ish years ago, you guys decided pretty soon after that this is where we want to go. This is what we want to do. How long was the process with you guys? What does the start even look like?
It's a lot of phone calls.
Yeah.
And I mean, in America, it's just big business. So anyone you speak to sounds great, and you're coming at it not knowing very much, so you're trusting what they say.
Yeah.
Now that I've been through the process, I can see so many parts of the journey where we could have been taken for a ride. Thank God we weren't. But yeah, it's because it's such a business, it varies so much. And I don't even know how much black tape there is around owning surrogacy agencies. I think, almost anyone could probably own one. I don't know if that's correct, but you start reading reviews and you see a lot of bad experiences, and you've got to trust someone. So we were lucky. We funnily enough had some other friends going through the process. A really good mate of mine in Australia was going through the process at exactly the same time.
Okay.
Hadn't told me, but I saw him ask a question in a Facebook chat, and I messaged. I was like, "Are you having a baby?" And he's like, "What?"
Yeah.
and so we kind of, along with Dan, navigated together, and we'd kind of like have phone calls with the same agencies, and then report back and say, "Well, this was our gut feeling," or "This was our gut feeling," and in the end, we ended up going with an agency that's headed up by an Australian guy.
Okay.
So I think Aussies trust Aussies. There's a connection there.
100%.
And they're also quite a boutique agency. So at the start, we were kind of going down the path of the best agencies with the best names that were well known. But they have waits of up to 18 months, 2 years to be connected with a surrogate. Whereas the one we went with said that it was immediate matching. So once you're ready to go,
Okay.
they'll match you.
Yeah. So then the next stage is once you've like engaged this agency and you go through this matching process, what does that even look like?
Yeah. So I guess you start with the agency, but there are so many moving parts that we weren't aware of at the start. There's lawyers for us, there's lawyers for them, there's counselling for us, there's counsellors for them. There's probably about at least 30 different companies in the mix. There's, trust accounts where the money all has to go into, and the amount of people that have their finger or their hand in this is astonishing.
Yeah.
Anyway, but the match kind of happens, and they mention, "Oh, we've got someone we think will be good for you," and vice versa. I guess they really try to match people up, knowing your personalities and what you're looking for. To someone they think would be suitable. We didn't see behind the curtain. So for all you know, there's one person waiting, and this is the person for you. You don't know, but
do you have calls with them? Like, do you get to talk to them?
You do. So you have an initial match call. Well, firstly, everyone creates kind of like a profile. So Dan and I had a profile about us and our family and our upbringing with photos and stuff. And the surrogates also complete one about them. And all surrogates, well, as far as I'm aware, all have to have given birth in the past as well, and have children of their own to prove that they, can carry a baby. And there are so many things that a surrogate criteria that they have to meet to be able to become a surrogate. And it's some crazy figure, like only 5% of people that apply to be a surrogate in the US get accepted. So you read that, and if that feels good and you want to move to having a call, then they set up a call, which is a bit awkward because it's like meet a complete stranger, and within minutes you're talking about, your personal beliefs and what are your views on this and that, and if something happens to the baby, would you want to continue with the pregnancy, or all things like that. And it's stuff that can be quite hard for people to talk about.
Yeah.
It's quite personal, especially with someone you don't know that, you're hoping might carry your baby.
Of course.
So there's also a lot of, I guess, at the start, tiptoeing, trying to put your best. It's like a job interview. You're trying to show the best version of yourself. And then after the call, you have 24 hours. Both parties have 24 hours to report back if you'd like to go further and go into legal, or if you don't think it's the right person. And thankfully, well, the first person we matched with disappeared, which is quite common.
Yeah. Okay.
And she was lovely, but I think it's quite common once you get into legal to get cold feet. There's a lot of not so nice things to read about in a legal contract. And you can totally understand. They've got families of their own. They need to do what's right for them.
Yes.
We ended up running with the second person we matched with, which we have an amazing relationship with, Liz and her family, and kids as well.
Yeah. And you got to, so when Harriet was born, you got to go to the US and be there as well, right?
We did.
Yeah.
So these things never work out as you expect. Baby shower in the nighttime at Zuma in Hong Kong, which anyone from Hong Kong knows that a Zuma night brunch is a great night out.
Yep.
We had people fly in for it. It was an amazing night.
Yeah.
And Sunday we didn't feel our best, and then Monday morning was Dan's birthday, and at about 4 a.m, his phone was ringing, but neither of us woke up. And at about 6 o'clock in the morning, our time, which is about 7 or 8 a.m. Over in the US, in Oregon, Liz's husband, Brandon, called and said, "Guys, it's happening."
Wow.
And Dan was like, "What?" He's like, "We're having a baby." So, it's all a little bit of a blur. She came 5 weeks to the day early.
Okay.
Typically, they tell you to go to be there for the birth 3 weeks prior.
Yeah.
So we had that planned. We were due to leave in 2 weeks' time. We ended up watching Harriet be born on FaceTime.
Yeah.
With one of our friends from Australia, Kylie, that was still staying with us, and our helper Tess walked in the door. So there's 4 of us in a line watching Harriet be born, which, was amazing. I think we were still in shock. I was on the Airbnb app trying to move our accommodation forward, and Dan was crying. And when she came, I just was like laughing. Like, it's just you don't know whether you laugh or you cry. It was just the response I had, I'm happy, but it was just like shock, I suppose. You know that it's coming, but nothing can prepare you for the actual time it comes. We were meant to. The whole plan was we'd gone through a birth plan with a surrogate, so she really wanted us in the room, and it was like, who's going to cut the umbilical cord and all stuff, all what do you want? And it is what it is.
Yeah,
and all we cared about was having a healthy baby, as everybody ends up saying. The fact she came out 5 weeks early and was perfectly healthy, didn't need any NICU. We're just so fortunate for that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, she's doing really well now too.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Amazing to see.
Yeah.
A lot of parents, when they're kind of going through this process of having a newborn, right? The difference when you're doing it by a surrogate is you're kind of preparing, but you're not going through the actual process, right?
Yeah, we had 3 unsuccessful transfers before it happened. So even though, through surrogacy, they're picking the best quality sperm and they're PGT testing the embryos to make sure that, they're only keeping the good quality embryos. And the surrogates have such stringent testing. You think, oh, this is going to be, pretty good, pretty quick. You think we're not doing IVF because we're struggling to conceive.
Yeah.
We just physically can't.
Yeah.
But it's just, life is amazing, and science can only do so much, and the rest is just luck, I suppose. Even, they can make everything the most perfect scenario as possible, and it really is just down to luck.
Yeah.
It was a much longer process than we thought. So advice to anyone, don't tell your friends too soon, because we probably told too many people, when we did the first transfer, and then the disappointment was just heightened when you have people asking, what's happening? When's this happening? When's that happening? So from the second one onwards, we decided to be more private about it.
Yeah.
And then during the pregnancy, there are a lot of scares about miscarriage. So I think because we'd had quite a few failed transfers, we really learnt to be quietly cautious, and hope for the best. But I think, you see a lot with people talking about surrogacy, just what they say, protect your heart.
Yeah.
So you really don't want to get ahead of yourself with any step in the process. And they're getting a pregnancy, a proven pregnancy on a pea stick to the first beta scan, that's just the first hurdle. And there's so many steps to go through. And I never understood just how hard it is. And my appreciation to women that carry babies has just, skyrocketed through the roof. I always thought it was amazing. But, for us, it really was not out of sight, out of mind. But, the pregnancy to us was try to protect ourselves, don't get ahead of ourselves, and you just see the money coming out in all different directions. So, I guess you kind of just have a very much, you put a less emotional lens on it, I suppose. It's more,
we almost don't want to think
more
it's real
transactional.
until it's real,
Exactly.
right? Yeah.
Exactly. So, it's crazy to think, after all that time, it's still a very much pinch me moment where, part of growing up, you think when you move out of home or you get your first house or whatever, is that when I'm going to feel like an adult? And even now I'm like, I'm responsible for this little life. And I'm like, anyway, but she's amazing. She's doing well. We couldn't be luckier.
Yeah. I think going on in that vein of, obviously growing up and, when are we going to be adults? Something we've talked about as well is, for a lot of us, especially our generation, for gay guys, you kind of, the question is always asked, like, did you always want to have a kid? But for a lot of us, we kind of grow up thinking it's just not something that was ever possible. So you learn kind of not to want for it as well.
Yeah.
But I guess for you, what has that journey been like? So not thinking you can't have something to realizing you could, to actually being like appreciative of that you're able to do it now as well.
Yeah, look, I know we've talked about it before, we're of similar age where, growing up being born in the 80s and growing up more in the, early to mid 90s and late 90s. I think school, and I had an amazing experience at school. Like I'm very fortunate for that, but not a day went by that you didn't try to just fit in or be accepted or liked or,
Honestly, a lot of it was just survival.
It was survival and not being bullied. Like, you always heard people say something about you behind your back or whatever, but it's just, I think, I don't want to speak for everyone, but I feel like for us, we didn't have necessarily the expectations that we deserve the same as what a straight person had, or, if it just wasn't, I mean, I know there's like, people that have pioneered it and, there's gay men that have had babies for, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years ago, which is amazing. And they paved the way. But for most of us, I probably think you just assume that's not for you, and that's okay.
Even marriage was just thought of as something you can't
exactly.
Let a baby.
And I think it's amazing that so many people are out there fighting for those rights because they believe in something so passionately.
How's it been adjusting now to actually having her here? And making it's all very real.
It is real.
Yeah.
I think we've been very lucky, to be honest with you. Talking to a lot of mums, we're surrounded by a lot of mums in Hong Kong with younger kids, and we've heard some stories, and they're all shocked by how well we've kind of adapted.
Yeah.
We were in America for 6 weeks with her. We didn't need to stay that long, but we just loved it. We loved the excitement of, here we're at this high-rise life, which is amazing.
Yeah.
But it was a novelty to have a house with a backyard and a four-wheel drive and just be able to leave the house and go for a drive. So yeah, we enjoyed that time.
Are you very involved with the family when you're over there as well?
Surrogate's family.
Or do you kind of...
So we saw her every day, if not twice a day.
Yeah.
And saw her husband and her kids. We met extended family, friends. We had a lot to do with them. Really early on in the very first match call, one of the questions is, what do you want from this relationship? Do you and Liz agreed with that. I just said, I never want to force a relationship. You just, we'd love to stay in contact, and we'd love to, have someone that gave us such a big gift to be in our life forever.
Yeah.
But it has to happen organically.
Yeah.
And what are we, 3.5 months past the birth? We still speak to Liz and her family every day.
Yeah.
So the relationships that has been great. We're very lucky. As far as getting used to raising a child, again, my mum flew over to the US maybe a week or so after Harriet was born.
Yeah.
And was with us until she came back to Hong Kong, flew back to Hong Kong with us, and was here for 2 weeks. The negative about having a baby and living overseas is that you are far away from family and close friends, that support network. So you really do rely on your friends more heavily. And the other amazing thing in Hong Kong about having kids here is the access to a helper. And the helpers just, they take on not a parent role, but an auntie role, I suppose you'd say.
Part of the family.
They're part of the family. And, 6 days a week, our helper Tess is there caring for Harriet alongside us, or, where Dan and I are both back at work. She sends us videos and pictures every couple of hours, and to see Harriet smiling and laughing and being read to, like, it's nice. It's nice to know that she's, being looked after. And happy.
If you look back at like the whole process, what would you say? I mean, it must have been such a roller coaster, right? Probably what was some of the, like, maybe you start with some of the emotional lows first that made you like, did you ever have moments of like, God, are we still doing this? And then obviously the high is probably bringing you home to Hong Kong, right?
Typically in the process of surrogacy, if a surrogate, if transfer doesn't take by the third time, you typically have to unmatch with that surrogate and go through the whole process again of matching with a new surrogate.
Which even the thought of it would probably be quite exhausting.
So, our doctor just said, it's not the surrogate, it's not the embryos, you've just been unlucky. She said, I would tell you if I thought you needed to break the match, but it's up to you. And we just said, let's give it one more go. And,
because it's sort of like every time you go, it costs more money as well.
It does. It's. I mean, as I said, it's not a cheap process. What is money? What is money? But it's once you're committed to something, you just keep going. So look, we were lucky to get pregnant the fourth time, but we did run out of embryos. So another expense was having to get a new donor and do the retrieval again. And that, I found the retrieval almost more stressful than the transfers.
Okay. And what was that?
Probably talking to people who had very low egg yields. And by the time you retrieve the eggs, and then only about 70 to 80% of those are mature enough to then inject, I don't know, inseminate with the sperm. And then from that, it's still like a lottery of how many of those survive. Like a lot of them aren't going to form into good, healthy embryos. When you pair that with Dan and I both depositing sperm, because we will have a second baby, the chances of it dwindling down more is higher because you're splitting. So, advice to anyone going through the process, if you can, it costs a lot more money to use an egg donor that has proven high yield. It sounds very medical and not very personal at all, but you get used to that in this process. I would tell people to use somebody that had a higher egg yield, because it's just going to give you more chances of more embryos. If you use someone, that's not done a retrieval before or only done one before, a lot of people end up with no embryos. We had,
Which
I think,
be quite scary, right? To think about.
So to think we had 34 eggs retrieved, then you take 20% off that. And the fact that after 4 transfers, we had to do another retrieval kind of shows you how quickly those embryos disappear.
Okay. I mean, it's such a complex process to go through, right? And we've talked a bit about it, but if you were to give, what were some of the biggest lessons, or if you were to tell people, like, these are like the top 3-4 things you really need to know? Maybe think about it from a chronological perspective. Like, what were some of the early lessons?
I mean, the main thing I can think about is, which you would find in mortgage broking as well. Don't listen to advice. I mean, listen to the right advice, but everyone has an opinion. Everyone has an opinion, and a lot of people don't know what they're talking about. They only know their experience. So, that would be trust your gut and try not to listen to the wrong advice, I suppose.
Yep.
The right advice, of course, but pick your trusted team and keep it in that little bubble. I'd say that from the start. As I mentioned earlier, don't tell people too early. I think it adds to the pressure.
Definitely.
There's a lot more pressure and stress than you probably realize at the start. It feels all exciting and we're doing this, we're going to have a baby. And it takes a lot longer than you think.
Yeah.
The timeline, you could have a dream journey. Ours progressed so quickly to get to the transfer stage, but then, the first 3 didn't turn out.
Yeah.
So, and, we were unlucky. The first 3, it wasn't that the pregnancy tests, they all came up positive.
Yeah.
So we had that, we thought, oh yes, we're pregnant. And then, they just didn't, survive long enough, in the womb.
Yeah.
But, they're 2 things. I mean, look, everyone's journey is so different. So that would be, I know you said 3. That's my 2 things.
Listen, I heard you to it. That's fine.
That's my 2 things. Find your trusted.
I was going to say, like,
group,
it's really important to have support around you.
Support is really important.
Yeah.
The rest, it's just ride the waves. Every journey's different.
Yeah.
Don't go into, like anything, it's always going to be different to what you expect. It's, what someone else's roadblock was might not be yours.
Yeah.
You might be lucky and it might all work first go. You just don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Has it changed? I mean, look, we both work for finance firms. Has it made you think a lot more about kind of the future and how you guys plan your finances and what you really need to think about?
The one thing that's probably changed is you are doing this for somebody else now.
Yes.
In the past, I guess my future planning was all like,
next holiday.
Yeah, next holiday, or upgrading to, when we move back to Australia, like where are we going to live? Or, you always, I was a mortgage broker myself for 10 years, as you know, and so I love property. I look at the property pages every single day, and it was always like, one day we can get that property and whatever. And it's just changed now. My thought process is just, how can I set things up best for the future?
Yeah.
And I think we're just in a little bit of a stage of our lives where we are just in a bit of a haze, and we'll get this baby thing done. It's taken a lot.
Yes.
Physically, financially, mentally.
Yeah.
And when the dust settles, and we're out of our little newborn bubble and whatever, we'll speak to a financial advisor, be speaking with you, and just, building ourselves back up again.
Cool. No, I really appreciate you sharing your story, Matt.
Of course.
Yeah, it's obviously very interesting. I know it's been a real journey, and you've been very vulnerable, and I appreciate that as well, because it's there's a lot of people that can learn from
I'm
this.
excited to share my knowledge with anyone, that comes to me and says, "Oh, I'd love to learn more." Like, I think, that's the least I can do, and to give back to people. I think it's been amazing.
Well, the whole point is to share experiences. Right.
Yeah,
so it's the whole point that we're even doing.
Yeah,
a little passion project.
Appreciate you caring and want to ask me about it.
No, I do.
But it's hard to sum up 2 years into a little podcast. And I think as often is the way people say things, when you're in the middle of something bad, not bad's the wrong word, but when you're in the middle of something that is turbulent or whatever,
it has a lot of pressure.
A lot of pressure.
Yeah.
It's not going to matter once you get to the end.
Yes.
And looking back, all the things that annoyed us or frustrated us, or we felt like, shouldn't have happened that way.
Yeah.
It's all old news now, because we got what we wanted, and we got, and it just doesn't matter now, and you can't put a price on that.
And she's healthy.
She's
happy.
She is.
It's like it's all you can ask for.
Yeah. I want to get her on the camera, but I don't know where she is.
Should we see if she's outside?
Yeah.
Have a look.
I'll go and ask her.
Yeah. Go and have a look. Here we go. Oh. Hello. She's at the best stage where they just sit there and look cute.
Right.
She doesn't look very impressed with you right now.
No, she just woke up.
Hey.
So this is Harriet, and she can come on your podcast in the future when she's learned a few more things.
Yes.
But yeah, this is
beautiful.
what we work for now.
Yeah, it makes it all worth it in the end.
It does.
Hey,
Sure does.
and beautiful eyes.
Yeah, beautiful blue eyes.
Yeah.
And she's sleeping through the night, which is apparently unheard of.
I think everyone will be very jealous if you tell them how easy she's been so far. They'll hate you.
I'm sure we got something else coming. I heard daughters are harder in the teenage years.
Definitely. Well, especially if there's if she takes after you in any way. So
Yeah.
cool. Thanks again, Matt. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Cool. Done.
Good job.